Welcome to the Pencil Bob channel. I hope you enjoy my stories. Please like and subscribe, and hit that notification icon so you never miss out. Now on with the stories.
This is a story from back in my 20s. In the early 2000s, I decided it would be smart to stop renting and buy a condo. It sounded like a good idea at the time, so I went through with it. I found a very nice condo in an area very close to where I worked. I never really experienced an HOA, and my realtor did me the disservice of telling me the HOA would cause me no problems. My dumb self agreed and moved in. I paid my HOA fees, kept my exterior up to standard, and minded my own business. For about 6 months I had no issues at all. I kept to myself mostly, just going to work and hanging out with a few friends in my free time. It was a cozy setup, and I was really starting to feel settled. The community seemed quiet and friendly enough, and I thought I had lucked out. Then came Big Bill. Big Bill, he called himself this, was one of those big loud old men who thinks that he is the top dog. He was retired from construction and liked to throw his weight around. You know the type, barrel-chested, loud, with an air of self-importance that could suffocate you from a mile away. The dude was an absolute bag of crap. He would go and bother people at all times of day and night to tell them something was wrong. He bothered my little old lady neighbor and told her that she needed to get her garbage cans in line or he would hit her with a fee. Her garbage can was in the space that it was supposed to be in but was crooked, and this is what he was threatening her about. Big Bill started targeting me. A young 20-year-old fit single guy who apparently threatened him because he missed the days when he was young and fit. I would see him 2 to 3 times a week for him to complain about something. He was looking in my backyard and would complain that the grass wasn't mowed even though it had just been mowed. He would come out with a ruler and measure exactly where I parked my car. He just kept pushing anything he could find or make up just to come and bother me. I tried to be patient at first, brushing off his comments and trying to keep my distance. But every time I saw him stomping over, my stomach would churn. He had this way of making you feel like a child being scolded by a grumpy teacher. If I complained about it to the HOA association, they would tell Bill to back off. He was basically their attack dog. Then he would call me and say things like, "You don't need to run to the bosses. We can handle this like men if you want to." It was infuriating and exhausting. I tried to avoid him as much as possible, but he seemed to be everywhere. One weekend, I had some friends over to hang out and play some video games. It was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday. There was no drinking. We were just hanging out and gaming. They went home a couple of hours later, and I got a call from Bill. He told me it was unacceptable to have guests over as late as I did, and if I wanted to talk about it man-to-man, we could. So I told him that yes, I wanted to talk about it man-to-man, and he was welcome to come over whenever he wanted. He didn't show up. The next morning, I decided to head over to Big Bill's condo and talk to him man-to-man. I marched over to his place, adrenaline pumping through my veins. I knocked on his door, expecting him to come out swinging, but he wouldn't answer. I could see him through the window, hiding in the kitchen and peeking around the corner. His wife came to the door and said that Bill was out grocery shopping. She was very nice, and I chatted with her for a few minutes and then told her that Bill said he wanted to talk man-to-man with me, and I was willing to do so. His wife rolled her eyes and told him to come outside. He immediately yelled that he was going to call the police. I asked why, since I wasn't trespassing and I was following up with him and his many messages for me saying he wanted to talk to me. Big tough guy Bill didn't know what to do, and I said I would just happily wait for him to come outside and then we could talk. I pulled out a book, sat on the bench in the common area across from his condo, and just waited. Finally, he got some courage, I assumed from alcohol based on his smell, and came flying out of his condo. He stomped over to me and immediately tripped over the curb, crashing into the grass. I just laughed at him. He told me that he was going to get me kicked out for breaking all of the HOA bylaws. But he had no proof, and at this point it was threats from him and clear harassment. I said that was fine, but if he called me or came by my place again, I was going to throw hands. I went home, and he went home. The next day, he showed up at my doorstep bright and early, puffed up and loud, and asking me if I wanted to go. He cocked his fist back, so I punched him in the mouth and knocked him down the 2 steps. Then I said I warned him to not come back. I never heard anything else from Bill, nor did any of my neighbors. I heard that he resigned from the HOA board and never bothered anyone, at least for the time I lived there. Man, the less Sue-happy late 90s and early 2000s was a wild time. And reading some of the stories of the absolutely insane HOA members makes me miss those times. And every day I'm glad I don't live in an HOA where I live now. My neighbors talked about starting an HOA, and I told them absolutely effing not. The whole experience with Big Bill was enough to last me a lifetime. It's funny how some people just love to exert power over others for no good reason. After all that nonsense, I made a vow to never live in an HOA-governed place again. The freedom and peace of mind I have now are incomparable. No more rulers to measure parking spaces. No more crooked garbage cans, just simple, straightforward living. And I've got to say, it's been a breath of fresh air. Looking back, I can't help but chuckle at the absurdity of it all. How did a guy like Bill end up being the enforcer for our HOA? Maybe he saw it as his last hurrah, his final chance to wield some authority. But for the rest of us, it was a nightmare. I remember coming home from work, seeing his shadow in the window, and feeling my heart sink. What would it be this time? Was my doormat too colorful? Did my recycling bin offend him? I once had a friend come over with a bright red car. Bill lost his mind, saying it clashed with the aesthetic of the neighborhood. I didn't even bother arguing. I just laughed and walked away. It wasn't worth the headache. The neighbors were sympathetic but powerless. Everyone was afraid of Bill. He had this aura of menace, and his construction background didn't help. He knew how to intimidate, and he relished it. But after that punch, things changed. It was like the spell broke. People started standing up to him. The little old lady he used to bully about her garbage cans, she started leaving them out longer just to spite him. Others followed suit, subtly rebelling in small ways. It was like a collective sigh of relief swept through the community. Eventually, Bill sold his condo and moved away. The atmosphere lightened immediately. The new HOA board was more relaxed, more about building a community than enforcing arbitrary rules. We had block parties, BBQs, and things that were unthinkable under Bill's reign. It was what a neighborhood should be. Friendly, welcoming, and supportive. In hindsight, that period taught me a lot about standing up for myself and the kind of environment I want to live in. I realized that life is too short to deal with power-hungry bullies, especially in your own home. Your home should be your sanctuary, not a battleground. And it's something I've carried with me ever since. So now, in my current place, when the idea of an HOA comes up, I tell my neighbors my story. I see the looks on their faces, a mix of horror and amusement, and they usually drop the subject. No one wants a repeat of Big Bill, and I'm happy to be the reminder of what can happen when you let a bully take charge. Life is much simpler now. I mow my lawn when I feel like it, park my car without a second thought, and have friends over whenever I want. There's a sense of freedom that's hard to describe, but it's incredibly valuable. I feel at peace knowing that no one is measuring my grass or scrutinizing my guests. It's the little things that make a big difference. And if I ever move again, the first question I'll ask is about the HOA, if there is one. I'll walk away without a second thought, because some lessons you only need to learn once. A random neighbor got frustrated the other day because my trash cans didn't get put away instantly after pickup. I pay the HOA $189 a month. They can bring their rich asses out and roll the bins up the hill for us. What else am I getting for that huge chunk of change? Damn, I can't imagine paying that per month. I pay $230 a year and complain about that. We have no perks though. The dues just pay for the water and electric bills and entrance landscaping as well as maintenance of the path to our common area, which is an undeveloped acre in the woods. Our small neighborhood dues don't amount to enough to actually do anything with that area. The world sucks now, but back in my 20s things were far more affordable. You'd be blasting "I Just Want to Fly" by Sugar Ray, as you would go get the 10 for $5 deal at Arby's, then go rent some movies at Blockbuster. The internet was new, gas was cheap, and life was good. I genuinely feel bad for people today just trying to get by. We are lucky to be in a position where my wife and I bought our home with cash due to buying our home in another state and selling right at the peak of the bubble to move. All we have is due to sheer luck and good timing. We are planning on moving again in a few years, but are going to keep this place just to give to our daughters so they don't have to struggle. And this won't be a rental property. Our niece is going to stay here while she works through her PhD program. They say a man's home is his castle. But what happens when that castle is under the rule of an unruly homeowners association? This question has become increasingly pressing for many North Carolinians, as complaints about HOAs grow louder and more frequent. In response, North Carolina legislators have embarked on a thorough review of the current laws governing HOAs, exploring potential remedies for violations, and determining which executive agencies might best assist homeowners in resolving their grievances. There are approximately 14,000 HOAs and property owners associations, POAs, in North Carolina, each representing a significant number of homeowners. For years, Representative Frank Eiler, R. Brunswick, has been receiving an increasing number of complaints from constituents about their associations. We've heard from hundreds of people that the HOA boards and board members have engaged in activities that should be concerning to those of us who represent these citizens, Eiler stated to his colleagues. Despite the influx of complaints, the advice provided to homeowners has been limited and often inadequate. Hire a lawyer. That's been our advice to a lot of these folks. And in my opinion, I've never thought that was quite good enough, Eiler added, highlighting the need for more accessible and effective solutions. Homeowners affected by these issues have begun to speak out, sharing their stories and frustrations with lawmakers. Timothy Hines of the NC Homeowners Association Law Reform Coalition detailed his experience with his own HOA, which is required by state statute to make financial records available for inspection by homeowners, and to provide the names and addresses of all association owners before each annual meeting. This transparency is supposed to facilitate communication about association business among homeowners. However, Hines revealed that his HOA largely refused to comply with these legal requirements. The law is flouted because the only enforcement it provides is for homeowners to mount prohibitively expensive lawsuits against boards that have access to association money, to drag out the cases until the homeowner's money and time are exhausted, he explained. This creates a significant power imbalance, leaving homeowners at a severe disadvantage. Another homeowner, Mike Firmakis, traveled from Charlotte to Raleigh to share his own troubling experience. Firmakis served on his HOA board in 2022, where he discovered irregularities that misled homeowners into purchasing additional insurance policies unnecessarily. When he brought these issues to light, he was swiftly voted off the board. Homeowners have lost tens of thousands of dollars through a section of HOA fees or insurance policies that they didn't need to purchase, Firmakis said. Underscoring the financial impact of these mismanaged associations, Dennis Valkanoff from Fuquay-Varina recounted a different but equally frustrating story. When he signed his contract, he was promised that an amenity center, workout area, and pools would be completed within 12 months of the first owner moving in, which was expected to be in February 2021. Nearly 3 years later, many of these amenities are still not available. Shame on me. I did not pay attention to the HOA documents well enough, Valkanoff admitted. Compounding his frustration is the fact that his builder controls the HOA board and will continue to do so until all 820 lots are sold and occupied. The perspective from within the industry and the NC Department of Justice also offers valuable insights. Weldon Jones, representing the North Carolina chapter of the Community Association Institute, CAI, acknowledged that many disputes stem from misunderstandings and emphasized the importance of education and better resources for homeowners. We feel very strongly that education and better resources for homeowners are truly going to make a big difference in resolving some of these disputes, Jones stated. Sunila Chillicurry, a legislative liaison with the NC Department of Justice and Attorney General Josh Stein, voiced support for stronger transparency requirements for North Carolina's HOAs. Chillicurry highlighted the department's concern over reports of homeowners who were unaware they were about to lose their homes due to modest unpaid sums to their HOA. Our office supports a minimum dollar threshold for unpaid assessments before an HOA may seek foreclosure, she said. Additionally, Chillicurry recommended that the General Assembly require associations to provide records to homeowners within a specific time frame after requests are made, and to limit charges for copying records to the actual cost. Property owners also deserve adequate notice through all means on record with an HOA before their home is subject to foreclosure, she asserted. Representative Carla Cunningham, D. Mecklenburg, requested more data on the foreclosure issue, particularly concerning homeowners who struggled to pay their assessments during the pandemic. An investigation by the Charlotte Observer and Raleigh's News and Observer found that HOAs have filed to foreclose on more than 5,500 properties since 2018, illustrating the severity of the issue. The legislative action anticipated in 2024 focuses significantly on House Bill 542. This bill, which passed both houses by large margins in 2023, albeit in different forms, seeks to implement safeguards before an HOA can place a lien on a home for minor unpaid fines or missed assessments, despite the formation of a conference committee in October to reconcile differences in the bill. No further action has been taken since. Kevin Jefferson, a former HOA board director, suggested that North Carolina could look to South Carolina for guidance. In South Carolina, certain data from complaints involving HOAs are collected and shared online, providing transparency to the governor, the General Assembly, and the public. This system allows consumers to see if their HOA is responsive and transparent or if it is evading the law. An enforcement mechanism as a part of a consumer protection agency is a vital component of reform, Jefferson told the committee. Representative Yalu D. Wake expressed hope that legislators could find a way to level the playing field and give homeowners a stronger voice in their associations. Representative Steve Tyson R. Craven concurred, noting that the current statutes warrant re-examination, given that nearly 30% of all homes in North Carolina are now covered by an HOA. There's many reasons for that, including increased density of development, stormwater management rules, city and or county ordinances that require developments to have open recreational spaces that must be permanently maintained, Tyson explained, emphasizing the evolving nature of housing development. The House Select Committee on Homeowners Associations is set to meet again on January 24th, with a final report due to the General Assembly by March 1st. This report is expected to address the myriad issues raised by homeowners, legislators, and industry representatives alike. The ultimate goal is to establish a more balanced and fair system for HOA governance, ensuring that homeowners' rights are protected and that associations operate transparently and responsibly. As North Carolina moves forward in addressing these growing HOA complaints, the experiences and recommendations shared by affected homeowners, legislators, and industry representatives will be crucial in shaping effective reforms. By learning from other states and implementing robust consumer protection mechanisms, North Carolina has the opportunity to transform its approach to HOA governance, providing homeowners with the support and fairness they deserve.
I would like to thank you for watching the video to the end. To encourage us to make more videos, please like, subscribe, comment, as well as share. Check out this other video if you haven't already.